So when we speak about the realm of the quiet, the relatively quiet, we're not speaking about something that has to do with absolute. The realm of the quiet is our nature. See? We have quiet nature and silent nature. See? We have sound nature and we have noise nature. See? The idea is to balance out one with the other to some degree, try and find that balance. See? So sound, pressure, and quietude. So to the degree that any ordinary thinking person is having difficulty with themselves in the way their mind and brain are working, then you might need to stop pushing it and access some quietude. See? Now, there are many peeps who are so owned by the ego programming, they can't have any quietude. So they find it inconceivable to let go of what's going on in their head, as if that's the real. So there has to be a breakthrough somewhere along the line to enable them to let go and access what else there is, or what there is lying beneath whatever they seem to be suffering, say, or struggling with, so to speak. And most people are struggling with something, right? It's never the thing outside them. It's always the thing in them, see? Actually. They're always struggling with themselves. And their perception that their self is not doing what they want their self to be doing. Right, you have to ask them, how long have you had this problem, lady? So then, there's this in-between. How do we get to the in-between? See, where you have the problem, you have some expected or projected solution, but then you have the in-between. The problem as the extreme, and then the solution as the other extreme. Where's the middle ground? See? Where's the happy medium?
I think the worry for people in that situation would be that the problem and the solution don't go away. If okayness is the state of being.
If okayness is a state of being. So you have to make them aware that okayness is the state of being already, and then let's see to what degree they're able to work towards that. So. And then we have to get back to, relative to art and the expression of music, what kind of music expresses your highest vision? What kind of music expresses one's highest vision of reality for, say, healing purposes? What's the highest vision one can have? Say, how is that vision expressed? See? Is there a musical solution? Or is there a non-musical solution? It has to be a higher solution than musical solution. A non-musical solution. See? Is there a higher practice solution for individuals? Of course there is. There always is higher practice solution. But who's willing to move in that direction and sacrifice all the stuff they're needing to be to get to the state of the higher practice solution. See?
It seems like there's plenty to give up, materially speaking. Lots of things, ideas,
Everything.
concepts.
There's everything to give up. Right. See, that's the exchange for what they call enlightenment, or I call it ensoundment, where you have access to the real sound. Okay. And this applies directly to musicians, okay. Not to non-musicians. Mm-hmm. Because for them, their whole purpose is to manifest a certain sound. See? Or music, which is sound, but I'll call it sound, call it more what it is, really. See? Because from the viewpoint of music, we're talking cultural and all kinds of diversity, which is not implied in my use of the word sound, which is original sound. See? See? Non-musical sound. Spiritual sound. True sound. Moving in the direction of what is called here hot fire sound, which is non-music. It's like spirit sound. Sound of spirit. Say the spirit sounds. Sounds of spirits. Not just the unholy spirits, but the Holy Spirit. Nice thought, nice concept. A few people have access to it because no one's interested in it. So I can't use that. What is that? That and $10 to get me a cup of coffee.
What is giving something up? What is given up? What is that?
Well, you know what giving up is. That's why you cling so dearly to everything you have. Right? Because you're driven to hold on to things, and that's I think a phase of what the process is. See, the holding on phase. See, and then there's an awakening that there's nothing to hold on to. See, later on. See, at some point, if you're lucky, you reach that level of or crisis. See, of no holding. No holding on to people or things, or anything you know. Okay? And this is part of the process of releasing yourself from the world, let alone your things, but from the world, the life itself. Letting go of the life itself. We're not talking about suicide. We're talking about trans life, say, super life. Okay? So, to the degree that anyone is just clinging to all the things, to that degree they're gravitated. To the degree that your gravitational programming ceases to exist, then there may be the potential or possibility of levitational influence, theoretically. See, and the rising. So, wow, I just let go of my body. Wow, no, yes, I don't know, yes, I do. It's gone, nothing. Wow. And in that instant, you say, what a fool I've been, this clinging fool, holding on, holding myself down, so to speak, to all these things unnecessarily, see, unenlightenedly, ignorantly, clinging to all this stuff. Couldn't be like that. The letting go is absolute. Letting go. It's not just a little bit, I say, I think I'll let go. That's going to bring me how far up? How far up did you say? A couple of particles up? No. Yeah, I think I'll go for 5 particles today. That's about as much as I can afford to release. Let go of.
Seems like at that level, what we're talking about, it almost couldn't be a conscious effort. It would have to be beyond that.
Oh, you have to make a conscious effort, for sure. See? Mhm. Yeah. Sometimes you can't make a conscious effort because it's ripped off of you. See? Fortunate is that person, loses it all in that moment, where they don't have to grapple with or suffer the idea of loss and having. See? It's just gone. See? Boom. Already gone. The rest is just gravity, self-gravity. And the fact of unenlightened heaviness. The fact of it. Every thought with everything, every dollar, every grain of coffee, every sort of ounce of gas, every particular piece of grocery, boom, all of it. See? See? The things we are weighed down by, see? Gone. Everything just gone. Zero. Peace, really. Sacrifice is already happening. You are already not you, and yours is already not yours. Your body's not yours, and it's going back to where it came from when the time comes. So it's all borrowed. See? It's all momentary, impermanent. So we use it with dignity, respect, and be prepared to give it up because it will be. It's already gone. Already here, always here, already gone. Yeah, the so-called teachings of the masters should not just be nice listening. See? Nice to listen to that. See? Oh, nice hearing that. Wow, it feels so good to hear the wisdom. So, you have to realize the wisdom, not just hear. It's like in one ear and out the other ear. Oh, I've heard that before. For thousands and thousands of years, you keep hearing and letting go of what it is, not getting the message, but you're hearing the words, and they're going in and out the other side. See, the words.
Understanding the words. So.
The understanding of it is important. Yeah. Thank you, Rad. That means it has to actually be heard for real. Okay. When it's heard for real, then it is done for real. Okay. And only after it is done for really real can the matters pertaining to the wisdom be put to rest. See? Yeah, this, I can say, the ancient spiritualist view, according to my elders, was that we are beyond culture. It doesn't come in as culture. See? Because of culture, we need to ask for something deeper and more. See? In order to feel our sense of resonance with the real, it's got to be beyond culture. Culture is like a midway point. It's for those who are really lost, who have nothing of the higher necessarily. See? Mm-hmm. So we have to go deeper, as the ancients, the Mahayogis have described in all the teachings throughout the world. See? You have to go deeper and then commune with it, so to speak. See, you have to be open to it. You can't think it's going to just come out and talk to you because you show up. You know? No. You have to have the proper resonance with what it is, and then it may show up as it will, and as it should show up under the right conditions. And yet what we're talking about is also conditionless reality. But who's ready for a conditionless reality? Who's given up enough to make the conditionless reality knowable to themselves, realizable for themselves, as themselves? So it's not about culture. It's not about, well, did this tradition know about that? Oh, I got to go to that tradition and see if what this guy's talking about is for real. Oh, I didn't read it over there. So what are you talking about? I didn't read that before. It's very probable he's not going to read it anywhere if it comes to an individual. It's not about the ego. It has nothing to do with the ego. More comes when you are able to be free of your ego. And you have free access to the higher, let's say, higher brain functioning at the level of creative intelligence. Otherwise, it's just a theory people think about. But we have access to that presently. If we could know that, if we could act on it. But what controls you? To the contrary. What desires and preoccupations control and dominate your consciousness or distract you? To the contrary. See? So that's the exchange. Free of all the domination, karmic domination, is a possibility. And then you also have the option of cutting through it right now. Right? Going straight to zero in this moment, when there's nothing. Heart, say, spirit, itself. Beyond zero. See? Beyond time, space, energy, matter, mind even, beyond that. See? So it is said that masters are put down on the planet, not because the people want to be masters on the planet. That's because the law would have it, cosmic law would have it. See? And thus, by strange laws, designate certain people to be responsible for a certain level of knowledge, wisdom, teaching, or enlightenment, or in this case, we're talking ensoundment, which is a better word for our purposes. It's the light of sound, the sound of light. And as just mentioned, without it, the world would be in a darkness it probably could not afford to be in. So they're serving the balance here. See? Male and female masters of light are keeping the balance on Earth's planet. And if they are what they say they are, then what's going to come out of their mouths is always the same. It's all about the light. It's all about the ensoundment. There's no gray areas there. It's not gray. And you can't budge them from their function. Their function is that. It's almost like machinery. Right? Yeah. We can say there's a higher programming, perhaps, but then there's no programming. And that's the higher programming is the no programming. That is to say, all there is self-realized light. Whether people like it or not doesn't matter. It doesn't care. See? And it's a matter of those people who are around such beings putting up with it. See? trying to hold their own under the pressure and the burden of the light itself. And a lot of people don't want to have anything to do with that. It's too much for them. And that's fine. It's perfect. Yeah. But the light will have its way. And if it's not one person, it'll get to the next person. It will have its way. And whatever you're doing here is part of the, I guess you might say, transmission of light, sound, see, the light of sound, out to other people. So that they at least, not necessarily be awakened by anything, there's no interest in awakening anybody, but at least putting it out there so they can resonate with it. See, they can resonate with it themselves, inwardly, see, outwardly. See, it's just soul to soul. It's not higher person to lower person. It's just soul to soul, heart to heart, mind to mind. See. And that is the difference and the sameness of what it is in truth and in reality relative to the spiritual works. Hugh.
Can you comment on the influence that other music has had?
It's impossible not to be influenced in certain ways by other music. But there is a definite understanding that it's not my music, see, it's others' music. And that makes a big difference in terms of what the, let's say, the practice is. Let's say, okay, this is so-and-so's music, clearly so-and-so's music. And this is music I'm given for the sake of my kind of human experience, and what of it there is a musical, let's say, correspondence with it that other people can participate in or share or come to terms with in their own universes and such. So there is that. Remember, I'm from Afro-Rican musical culture. And that's kind of like a amalgamation of different rhythms from not just the Caribbean, but actually from Africa and around the world, African, Indian stuff. So I come from that basic culture. So my tolerance to most music is obvious. I can tolerate any kind of music. I understand it. And it's all folk music to me. See? And then I can understand the higher levels of the music, more complicated levels of the music, in terms of the intellectual side of the music, relative to classical purpose and function as school, and as expression as well. I mean, understanding, the composers and what they were put upon to do to survive in their time and space. So all of that makes sense, and that's true to certain people, and so it has its own comic context relative to civilization, see, and needs of the civilization, but relative to spiritual, and that becomes a big question. And going back to the issues that we were discussing earlier here, this is really about the spiritual for the spiritual, in the spiritual, by the spiritual, to the spiritual. And by the spiritual I mean the light itself, the light. And by the light I mean something other than the ordinary culture, but everyone as a cultural being needs more light, see, more peace. And so the influences are there, but I understand them for what they are. I don't play that early life music. I don't play that. I respect it. I was also a doo-wop singer. It's not my music. It's something that was happening at the time, and so I respect it. I respect the earth and all of its music. But that's not all there is. See, we have to understand that. See, this is a universe. And so there are many different forms of sound that are not known to us. See? See? The spaces, the inner spaces, the in-between the spaces. See? Because we are space beings in time bodies. This is what I have been teaching the few who can hear that from me. See, we are space beings in time machine bodies. See? We're in the time universe, but we're space beings in the time universe, the cow universe. See? And this is important because the more we start to embrace the total beyond the mess, right, the mess of human nature and problems, psychological, psychic, and physical problems and emotional problems, human against human conflict. The more we start to move into what we can say is an angelic presence and the positive light of the angelic presence, the more we start to see that the music of our early life, even our culture, is no longer bearing on us. See, it's good for the people to express themselves as humans, whether it's Elvis Presley or Johnny Mathis or Frank Sinatra, you know, the list goes on. James Brown, all these great artists, Stevie Wonder, all these great artists are bringing in their heart's best. So all due respect, yeah, but it's not what I'm doing. So it's great for them. That's what I expect everybody to do. So I feel everybody's great already, bringing their music in. And now I have to make sure that what I'm giving them and sharing through my agency is also what I would consider to be my heart and mind's best offering for the sake of humanity, not for the sake of expression, for the sake of salvation. And that means spiritual awakenment, say, ensoundment, realization. So, for those who can hear it, enjoy it. Hugh.